It was late at night on the 10th of July 2001 when emergency services received a phone call. 20-year-old student Sef Gonzales was hysterical. He told the operator his entire family had been murdered.
The Gonzales family immigrated to Australia from the Philippines in the 1990s looking for a better life. The father, Teddy, was a lawyer. He moved with his wife, Loiva, and their young son, Sef. After arriving in Sydney, they had a daughter named Clodine. The Gonzales worked hard in their new country. Teddy set up a successful law practice in Australia. The close-knit Catholic family hoped for bright futures for their children, Sef and Clodine. Teddy Gonzales worked very hard after immigrating to Australia. He was able to establish a successful law firm that specialized in immigration law. By the late 1990s, after years of hard work, Teddy had earned enough money to purchase a plot of land in an area called North Ryde. In 2000, Teddy built a large, beautiful house on that land for his whole family to live in together. He provided a wonderful home for his family. The Gonzales parents had high hopes and strict expectations for their children's futures. They wanted Sef to become a doctor or lawyer. The devout Catholic parents hoped their children would make them proud. Sef Gonzales began studying medicine at the University of New South Wales, but after 2 years he dropped out of the medical program. He then switched to study law instead at Macquarie University. However, Sef did not do well in his new law courses either. He failed many subjects and was in danger of being kicked out of the university. To hide the fact that he was failing from his family, Sef started lying about his grades. He didn't want his family to know he was struggling and failing law school like he had failed at medical school. So, he started being untruthful and deceitful to cover up his poor academic performance. Sef's lies about his poor grades were revealed when his sister Clodine told their parents the truth about how he was failing law school. This led to big arguments at home between Sef and his parents. They were very angry and threatened to take away Sef's beloved green Ford Festiva car and other privileges like his allowance if he did not immediately improve his grades. They wanted to punish him for lying and failing school. Sef felt very anxious about losing his car and other freedoms, which made him hateful towards his family. Sef's parents, Teddy and Loiva, wanted him to devote all his time and energy solely to improving his grades and studying law. They did not want him distracted trying to pursue his dreams of music and singing, but Sef was very upset and angry at the threat of losing his cherished car and other freedoms as punishment for his failing grades. He also began worrying that his parents might entirely disinherit him and prevent him from inheriting any of the family's assets or money. This growing grudge and fear of being disowned made Sef increasingly angry with his family. As arguments continued over the next few months, Sef started forming a plan to murder his family. He wanted to inherit the family's assets and not lose his lifestyle. Sef began researching methods to kill his parents and sister. He looked into obtaining poisons and toxic plants. He also ordered some plant seeds online to experiment with. In the weeks leading up to July 2001, Sef tried poisoning his family's food and medicine, but the small doses only caused them minor illnesses. On July 10, 2001, Sef was ready to carry out his deadly plan. He went to work as usual at the family law firm office that morning. Around 4:30 p.m., Sef left work and drove to his house. He grabbed a baseball bat and 2 large kitchen knives. Then he went to Claudine's bedroom and brutally attacked her while she was studying. Sef beat Claudine's head with the bat and stabbed her with a knife. She suffered major injuries and died from the attack. A short time later, Sef's mother, Loiva, arrived home. As she entered the house, Sef stabbed her repeatedly with one of the knives in the living room. He killed her in a crazy attack. Around 6:50 p.m., Sef's father, Teddy, came home. Sef stabbed him multiple times in the chest and back as he entered. Teddy suffered defensive wounds trying to fight off his son. After killing his family, Sef worked to cover up his crimes. He disposed of the weapons and his bloody clothes. He showered and spray-painted F off Asians on a wall to mislead police. Sef then drove to a friend's house and pretended everything was normal. He went into the city and visited restaurants and arcades.
I'm Gonzales.
Please come! Someone has hurt my parents and my family.
Sorry?
Someone has shot my...
Later that night, Sef returned home and called emergency services. In the following days, Sef gave interviews begging for the killers to be caught. He offered a $100,000 reward. Sef also asked about quickly receiving his inheritance from the murders. After the murders, Sef told lies to his extended family. He said he had a brain tumor and urgently needed money for surgery to remove it. This odd behavior made the police suspicious. At first, the police thought it was a home robbery gone wrong, but then they saw nothing valuable was taken from the house. Also, Sef's story about what happened did not make sense. The police noticed Sef did not act upset like someone whose family just died. He seemed emotionally blank. More clues showed Sef was likely the killer. The police looked around the house and saw the family's jewelry, cash, and other expensive items were still there. Robbers would have taken those. When questioned, Sef paused a long time and changed his story of what happened that night. Blood splatter patterns and the weapons used pointed to the murders being an inside job by someone in the household. Sef's fingerprint was found on a graffiti paint can at the scene of the crime. His shoe prints were also found at the crime scene. The different stories Sef told about where he was at the time of the crime could not be confirmed.
North Ryde.
North Ryde. And your parents are both been shot, have they?
I don't know. That's not a blood. It's my mom.
Recordings of Sef's phone calls showed that he was not telling the truth and was trying to hide something. Finally, in June 2002, Sef was arrested for the murders after extensive evidence proved his guilt. His trial began in April 2004. The prosecution demonstrated how Sef had planned the cold-blooded killings for months. He brutally murdered his family for selfish reasons about inheriting money. On May 20th, 2004, the jury found Sef guilty on all counts. In September, he received 3 life sentences in prison with no chance of parole. Sef still claims he is innocent, but the judge said the murders were utterly horrific with no reducing factors. Justice was served. After a tragic murder occurred in Teddy's large house, the property sat vacant for 3 years because its history made it difficult to sell. In 2004, a couple from Taiwan agreed to purchase the house without being informed about the murders there. When the couple learned the truth, they wanted to cancel the sale, but the real estate agency refused at first, sparking public outrage. The agency eventually returned the couple's deposit and was fined for failing to disclose important history about the property that may have impacted its value. This incident led to a change in the law requiring disclosure of any events that may affect a property's desirability or price. With this history disclosed, the Gonzales house was finally able to be sold again in 2005, but for a lower price than originally expected. The tragic story of the Gonzales family murders shocked Australia. Sef's severe punishment showed the legal system's attitude against horrible domestic crimes.